And we are back. Welcome to a brand new tactics video on the channel. Today, we are going to be talking about all things 3-1-4-2. Now, not only do I think that this formation is really effective in countering what most people think the new meta is after the most recent patch, but I actually think that this formation is the new meta.
He knows. My man knows.
So make sure you are watching through all of this so you can get all of the information about all of the tactics that I am going to be running when it comes to using this formation. Now, before we get into it, the first thing I must stress, you cannot use the 3-1-4-2 against 4-4-2s, 4-2-2s, and 4-2-4s. If you use that against people that are actually using those formations to attack, you will get overrun in the wide areas because they will basically just have that front four pushing forward and you'll be too tucked in and you will get outdone in the wide areas. So do not use this formation against anyone that is running 4-4-2, 4-2-2, or 4-2-4. What I will say is this formation is still very useful against people that defend in a 4-4-2, but this formation is designed to counter all these people that have switched back to 4-2-3-1, 4-3-1-2, 4-1-2-1-2, and people that are still using the 4-3-2-1. I find that this formation fully counters these formations. Just because of how I have the tactics set up, it fully counters these formations. And like I say, even when they defend in a 4-4-2, you can be really effective using this 3-1-4-2.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Now, what I will say off the bat is this is a very, very attacking formation. But the reason why I think this is going to become the new meta is because once you can get those go-ahead goals using this formation, it's then a really, really simple transition into the 5-3-2. As the shape doesn't actually change, your players just drop a lot deeper. And I know that we talk about how we don't like 5-backs on this channel, but genuinely, if you are someone that wants to go for a lot of wins and is more concerned about that than having fun, that transition from 3-1-4-2 into 5-3-2 is why I think this formation is going to start becoming the new meta, because we saw it at the pro tournament earlier on this week. A lot of pro players are running 5-3-2s to see out games because it is the most solid formation defensively. And like I say, because we are going to be attacking in a 3-1-4-2, you've already got that shape just further forward to get those go-ahead goals before you can then transition into the 5-3-2. But like I say, I'm not going to talk about 5-3-2 in this video. I still feel like I just want to have fun on this game. So for me, I'm just going to be running 3-1-4-2, but the 5-3-2 is available there as well. Like I say, if you then want to start seeing out games in this shape. So once again, we're going to start with the custom tactics, and once again, you will see we are running a pressure on heavy touch rather than a press after possession loss. This is because, again, due to the new patch, those left wing back, right wing back, / left mid / right mid, those players end up too far forward, and if you go for a press after possession loss, they're basically just going to stay up as a left wing and a right wing, which is going to leave you far too exposed in behind if they can just play that one simple chip through ball out wide. So for me, it's pressure on heavy touch. Wait for that moment to then swarm, because you will have basically a line of 6 players that will be able to swarm your opposition defense if they do start making mistakes. Width set to 35, that is always my go-to for 3-backs or 5-backs, because you want that line to be as tight as possible to prevent those gaps for the people playing running behind direct passing. Depth set to 60, again, it's a high line team. That's the whole point of it. It's a 3-1-4-2. We want the team high, but not too high. So for me, that is 60. And as always, build up play set to balanced. Chance creation possession, because we're still going to be keeping the ball knocking around nice and calmly. Width set to 60, because again, we don't need it too wide, because we've already got the players in the left mid and right mid that are going to be wide anyway. Players in the box is set to 6. And again, we'll explain why it's set to 6 shortly. Corners and free kicks, as always, be at your own personal preference. I, of course, have corners as 1 due to my corner kick tutorial. Potential updated corner kick tutorial coming in the next couple of weeks. I've had a new one I've sort of been trialing out recently, and it's just added even more options to me on corners. So keep an eye out for that one in the coming weeks. On to those all-important player instructions then. As always, for my goalkeepers, I have them set for come for crosses and sweeper keeper. To me, that's just a no-brainer. I think everyone should have their goalkeepers set to that because there's just no real reason not to. The central centre-back is set to stay back, normal, and stick. However, the first sort of bit of controversy around this formation is I actually have my outside centre-backs set to overlap. And I know what you're thinking immediately. You're already playing a 3-1-4-2, and now you want the centre-backs overlapping as well.
You're mad.
Just don't panic, because these centre-backs don't actually end up playing at like left wing and right wing. The reason I have them set to overlap is because of this. Now, this may seem like the most basic thing in the world, and yes, this is just a squad battle, but you'll notice here that my two outside centre-backs are just that little bit pushed further up, which allows you to play those switches of play, dragging the opposition over, allowing those two centre-backs just to be a little bit more involved in the start of the build-up. You'll see that they're not pushing too far forward. I can stretch forward if I really want to, but it's just about creating that little bit of angle to create those opportunities for those centre-backs to be involved in the initial build-up play. Not only that, you would have noticed as well that I actually have Vidic and Blanc as my two outside centre-backs, with my CDM converted to centre-back as the one in the middle. That, again, combined with the overlap, creates this sort of situation here. Now, I will end up showing this clip again later on in the video, but what I want you to focus on for the purposes of this bit is just the centre-backs. Even though there is an attacking play going on, you'll notice that Blanc and Vidic, because they're set to overlap, they're actually putting pressure already on our opposition forwards. Our opponent is defending in a 4-4-2 setup. That doesn't mean that they are playing 4-4-2 in game. That just means they're defending in a 4-4-2. And because our centre-backs are set to overlap, you will see that they have already pressed up on those two opposing strikers if we then lose the ball. That is the extra benefit of overlap. If they're not on overlap, those two players will have stayed further back alongside our central centre-back. But because they're on overlap, they'll just make those little bits of movement to initially put that first bit of pressure on our opposing forwards before they have the opportunity to get out. From there, let's move into the CDM, where you will see that once again we have our CDMs set to cut passing lane, stay back while attacking, cover centre, and stick to position. In fact, we might as well cover the two centre mids as well. They are again set to balanced, stay on the edge, normal, free roam, and cover wing. So literally, this midfield 3 is exactly the same as my midfield 3 in the 4-3-3 second variation. That is because, once again, most players like to defend in a 4-4-2, and I like to have that little triangle available to me, so I'm able to keep possession away from those two centre midfielders by making use of that CDM. What I would say is that I think it's absolutely imperative when you're playing in the 3-1-4-2 that this CDM is very mobile. That's why I've gone for a Philipp Lahm. You could go for the likes of Ramirez, a Frenkie de Jong, and N'Golo Kante. One that's a little bit more agile and able to get around the pitch quickly. If you've got like a big clunky CDM that is being normally used to break up play, that's the player that I then have as my central centre-back, because I feel like the amount of work that this CDM is going to have to get through in that midfield, it really needs to be one that is mobile. So that would be my advice. Get yourselves a CDM that is actually able to get around, because this player is going to have to cover two sides of the pitch. And like I say, then we have the two CMs on cover wing, because our right mid and left mid, once again, are going to be getting forward. And these left mids and right mids are on the exact same instructions as what I normally have on my left mid and right mid when we're playing the 3-5-2, which is come back on defence, stay wide, come short, but also get into box. So if we bring up that clip that we showed earlier when we were justifying why we use overlap on the centre-backs, this time, if we now focus on all the attacking players, before I even run it, you'll see obviously we've got our left wing, or our left mid, should I say, here, our right mid here, our two strikers, our two cams, and then our CDM, and obviously then the centre-back, and the final centre-back off the screen. We run it through, as I say before, you've got the wingers set to get in towards the box. As you can now see, approaching into the box with the ball carrier with the ball. Our opposite right mid has actually entered the box before either of our two strikers. That is what was included in the new patch. So the forwards, or the mids, should I say, are getting in earlier because the game is forcing them to be higher up the pitch. But that actually works out to our benefits. As I play the clip on a little bit longer, as you see, I've got Van Pastor getting herself into the box. And then we have all of our other instructions, as we spoke about earlier. Our two strikers have got into goal-scoring positions. Our opposite winger has got in at the back post because they're set to get into the box. Our two centre mids are staying on the edge of the box as instructed. As we already spoke about, our two centre-backs are putting pressure on the two opposing forwards because of the overlap. Our CDM is staying back, and our final centre-back is staying back, ready to deal with anything that comes out. Once you get in this position, you quite literally have four options. You have got option 1, pass it to the first striker. Option 2, pass it to the second striker. Probably the best option in this scenario. Or option 3, depending on where you've got to on here, play it to the opposite winger at the back post. Or if we run it back, obviously we could have played it earlier with a cross. And this is why I talk about players with whipped pass. We could have played it as a cross to the back post to our opposite winger. But let's play it forward once again and you see what we actually do instead. We have the ball in this attacking area there. A little bit of skill. I look at my options and I think, do you know what? I'm feeling a little bit cocky today. So rather than take the easy pass back, I go for my old school unstoppable nutmeg tutorial, slipping it through the goalkeeper's legs and getting ourselves a nice, lovely goal. Now, obviously, this is something I ran as a tutorial last year, so make sure to check that video out now because all of the instructions from that video still apply now. And then finally, we just have the strikers set to stay forward. It is as simple as that. Basically, this formation is sort of like a hybrid of all of my previous combinations combined. You've got the wing-backs from the 3-5-2, you've got the midfield from the 4-3-3 second variation, and then you've got the strikers from the 4-2-2 setup, whereby they're going to be in those little pockets. You're then going to have the 2 CMs available for them, like in that 4-2-2, to get into those spaces, and then, of course, you've even got the wing-backs coming round the outside to create those angles as well. So finally, just to round it off, my advice for the sort of players you should be looking at to put in this team, as we've already spoken about, you should put your 2 centre-backs in the outside centre-back positions with essentially a ball-playing CDM that is really powerful and physical as the central centre-back. You then want that small, agile break-up, but also good on the ball CDM. Your 2 CMs essentially can be 2 cams. Because you've got that defensive cover, you can go for literally, like I said, I've got Pires and Pirlo in there at the moment. You can be really attacking with these 2 centre-mids because they're going to be getting forward, knowing that they've got that cover behind them. As for the wide players, you again just want those relentless wing-backs, essentially. Risa is absolutely ideal. He is my favourite fullback in the game right now because you can just bomb up and down with him. He's physical, he's powerful, he's got relentless, he can go all game, and obviously Beckham then has the whipped pass as well. So if you've got someone like Batcher or Bacca, however you say her name, in that left wing back position, then absolutely go for her. Her crosses are going to be seriously good in this formation. And then of course the 2 strikers. They're just 2 strikers, aren't they? Obviously, you could have a wide player that is good at finishing in this position. But for me, I always go for 2 strikers. And then when I'm playing like the 4-3-3, I'll have an attacker that can then play out wide. In this case, I have Diego Forlan. Let me know if you're going to be giving this formation a go down in the comment section. I will, of course, be using this in my champs run this weekend, as I did in last weekend's video. So make sure you can check out that stream available as well, where we did use this formation. So, yeah, let me know what you think. It's a massive, massive risky formation. You probably are going to concede goals with it if you're not very careful. But I think it's an awful lot of fun. And like I say, if you're someone that does really want to try hard, go into this formation at the start of games, get that 1 or 2 goal early lead, and then just swap in to the 5-3-2 to see out the game. Thank you very much for watching as always. Let me know what other tactics or potential things you would like to see on this channel. Have a very Merry Christmas if I don't see you beforehand.